All right, let's see if I can get this right. Okay. All right, so I enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps in 2000. I was a combat engineer, and I was also a marksmanship instructor. But as it turns out, learning how to blow stuff up and shoot things doesn't necessarily translate into civilian skills, as luck would have it. So I was hired by Fidelity in 2004, and I was extremely fortunate that I was able to be hired into an environment where there were other veterans, so they understood the plight that I had because they had gone through the same transition, and it made me feel really welcome. And they helped me round out the rough edges, as they put it. So as we can see here, what this slide represents is that there's a very large veteran population in the state of North Carolina, and it continues to grow every day with over 200 veterans transitioning out of the military all the time. So what does that mean for companies that here in RTP? That we have a very diverse talent pool in the veteran community that we can tap into. But there are some barriers that veterans do face. So 90% of the veteran community does get out of the military and they don't have a college degree. That can be a huge barrier because if you look at most job descriptions, there is a educational component that's listed on the job description, so it can be something that would stray them away. The cultural differences. So in the military, you're taught, or you're told when to go, where to go, when to be there, how long you're going to be there, so it's a very structured environment. When you get out of the military, that's not always the case. So it can be very hard to re-civilianize yourself to be in these environments that we've created. Not as many transition resources. So all branches of the military do have a transition program, but a lot of veterans say that it's not very effective. That sometimes the resources that are available to them, resume writing, learning how to speak professionally, those things just aren't taught enough where they can get out into the community and be effective. And then finally, no sense of service. So when you're in the military, you have a sense of belonging. You belong to your team or your platoon or your battalion. You know kind of what your worth is. And then when you get out of the military and you go back to small town America, that's not always the case. You don't really know what your value is anymore, and you could join a very large organization and you don't really know what the big picture is. So some of the things that we have to focus on is working with those guys and showing them that they have a value and that they are part of the big picture. So some of the things we do here at Fidelity, or what we do at Fidelity, is we have a mentoring program. We work both internally and externally. So American Corporate Partners is who we work with. So that puts veterans like myself in contact with veterans that are getting out of the military, and that allows me to kind of work with them and mentor them, show them how to write a professional resume, show them how to be professional, how to dress, things like that, and just be that sounding board, that somebody they can talk to that's kind of been there and done that. We also have employee resource groups, what allows the veterans within the company to kind of get together, talk about some stories, reminisce a little bit, and build that camaraderie that we did once have in the military. We go out into the community and we try to give back because we know that in some cases we're extremely blessed to be here, so we try to give back to the community as much as possible. I think the biggest thing is to change the mindset. I think if you look at the graphic here, that depicts pretty well the way that I felt when I got out. But there's certain things about the way veterans speak, the way that veterans stand, the way that veterans would write something. So the spoken language. A lot of times veterans can be short. They can be yes sir, yes ma'am, and they will be very direct in the way that they answer a question. It doesn't mean that they're not engaged. It just means that's the way they've been taught. They're hardwired to get to the point very quickly. So sometimes we have to be cognizant of that and help them out and make them give us a little bit more. Body language. I was told that when I first started working at Fidelity that I was unapproachable because I would stand with my arms like this all the time. So I had to learn to relax a little bit and walk through the space and talk to people. So it's not necessarily that, again, it's not that they're being guarded, it's just that that's kind of the way that they were taught. It's hardwired. And then written language. There are some acronyms that you might see on a resume. There is no civilian translation for. So again, it's not that they don't or not trying to be professional in the way that they write the resume. There just might not be a civilian equivalent to that. So don't be afraid to ask questions and ask them to explain what that means, because it might be something that you're really looking for as far as the skill set's concerned. Okay, so what I want to end with today is, so as children we were all taught about the golden rule, about how to treat others the way that we want to be treated. But I think that in the diverse environments that we're trying to create, that we have to go to the platinum rule. And what that means is we want to treat others the way that they want to be treated. All right, so the one thing that I do want to leave you guys with is you think about veterans entering the workforce. If we treat them the way that they want to be treated, we can make them more comfortable and include them in the environments that we've worked so hard to create. Thank you.